All right, so my name is Maksim Pecherskiy, and I'm the Chief Data Officer for the City of San Diego. But before this, I actually used to work with the government of Puerto Rico through Code for America. And a few months ago in September, I was visiting when Hurricane Irma, that was the previous one before the bad one, struck. We were sitting around and we were thinking, what is it that we can do? And what I'm going to talk about today is not something amazing, because there's a lot of people doing other amazing stuff, especially after the new one. But what I am going to talk about is this map that I made, and I'm going to complain about how hard it was to make it. This map is not rocket science. This is built with some open source technology and some stuff that we've designed in San Diego for building these types of maps. And all it does is it shows shelters, hospitals, and flood zones. And when you click on a shelter or hospital, you get a phone number and a way to get there. So here's what I had to do to put some shelters on a map. I had to get the shelter CSV. I had to join that with the schools data set because that was where the locations were. I had to clean the shelters, including the phone numbers and the addresses, clean the schools, join them together. That gave me, out of 450 shelters, locations for all but 88. Then I tried to geocode them, and I got through about half. So there's still 47 shelters that cannot be put on a map because they cannot be found by Google. Flood zones, which is definitely where you don't want to be in a hurricane, was a lot worse. I had to try to connect to the FEMA GeoServer, which had an HTTPS error, so it kept going down half the time. I had to try it in 2 different languages and 3 or 4 different tool chains. Finally, our GIS guy pointed me to a bulk download that I loaded into my RAM, 12 gigabytes, filtered out the 500-year-old flood zones, had to figure out what flood zone data meant, and added that to the map, and then figured out how to host it. So this took me about 20 hours. With about 5 hours of actually making the map and about 15 hours of working with the data on a rough connection, mind you. Using, like I mentioned, 3 or 4 different tool chains and 2 languages. And I have a background in this. And if I struggled, then who else would? And that's what got me thinking, is our data disaster ready? Have you tried your data for a time-constrained project? Have you tried using and pairing your data with another agency or federal or state agency? I think disasters require a different way of thinking than our regular day-to-day. And how do we make sure that our data is disaster ready and is really ready to respond when it needs to be? And after I left, about a month, just a little bit after that, Puerto Rico got hit with Maria. That really destroyed the island. There's a lot of disaster agencies engaging now, but it's still hard to get island data, especially for things that have changed after the hurricane. And as of today, there's 3.5 million Americans that need all the help that they can get, and there isn't a lot of media coverage of this stuff. And so what I would do is I would encourage you, if you have the time, if you have any desire, I would jump in. There's things you can do, such as hot OSM, which is a way to crowdsource. You look at satellite images, and then you draw the roads. And there's also some emails and resources for a lot of expat people and other people in Puerto Rico that are working to remedy some of the issues on the island currently going on. And so if you can get involved, I would highly recommend it. Thank you.